All right, good afternoon. Welcome back. Today we're going to start Chapter 10, Section 3. We're going to discuss why some teens decide to use drugs. Drug risks in teens, and why do some teens use drugs? So you've been hearing your whole entire life from adults that drugs are bad, that don't do drugs. So then the question is, if people know that drugs are bad for them, then why is it that some people get involved in them? Teens may start using drugs for many different reasons. The main reason, which is the main reason we talked about smoking, which is the main reason we talked about drinking, comes down to peer pressure. It can be difficult to say no to your friends, but it's easier when you know the dangers. If they're your friends and they're trying to get you involved in drugs, then they're not really your friends, because true friends don't try to get people or try to get the people who are supposed to be their friends to do things that are completely harmful to them. Instead of using drugs, you can resist peer pressure and engage in healthful activities. Now, drug use in the media. Many TV shows and movies glamorize drug use, which sends teens the message that drug use is harmless. The fact of the matter is it's not harmless. It can be very harmful to your health, even resulting in death. You rarely see people struggling with addiction, going to jail, dealing with withdrawal, and hurting their family relationships. You know, death is a horrible, horrible thing that can result from this, but the fact of the matter is drug use just in general, it tears people's lives apart. It makes them physically ill. It alienates them from all the people that they love and care about, and they lose their jobs. They steal. They become criminals. It has a profound effect on people. On the other hand, some shows and magazine articles do a good job of showing the negative effects of drug use. Now, drugs are especially harmful to teens because their minds and bodies are not fully developed. We talked about that in the last lesson, that you take the drug when your brain is not completely, you haven't completely matured yet, and your body's going to, you may take drugs and it actually destroys brain cells to the point where you never are capable of cognitively getting to where that you should be. Or your brain may never function correctly, or you may never be able to mature to the point like you should have. So these are some major effects that can happen to doing drugs as a teenager. They can reduce your motor skills or the ability to move your muscles in a normal way, which could affect writing, speaking, and walking. This damage could be permanent. People like to think, well, will I be able to get some of this stuff back? And I suppose possibly, but the fact of the matter is once you've lost some of these skills, those skills are probably going to be gone forever. Drugs also trick the brain into believing it needs them to function properly, and over time the brain thinks it needs the drugs, which that's where addiction comes from. That's what addiction is. Drug use harms mental and emotional health. Using drugs at this point in your life is dangerous because it keeps you from learning to handle difficult emotions in healthful ways, which will help you to mature. See, people who try to hide from things by drinking, taking drugs, or doing these other things, what you're actually doing is you're masking the problem, like I said before. And instead of dealing with issues or solving the problems and learning to solve the problems, people harm themselves and they make it so they're never capable of doing these things. Using drugs affects how you handle situations, causing you to make poor decisions, use bad judgment, act violently, or put yourself in danger. People who use drugs, they don't know what they're doing, so they can cause damage to other people, or harm to other people and themselves. And it's not that they're necessarily attempting to do that, they're not in control. It only puts you and other people at risk, but also stops the emotional growth that will help you become a healthy adult. And people who mask their problems with drugs, they may never get to the point where they're capable of dealing with situations in an adult-type manner. Now, drugs are illegal. Breaking the law is a risky behavior and is not the right thing to do. Most drug use is illegal and dangerous, and the law says dangerous and addictive drugs may not be sold. Some drugs are illegal unless used in certain medical situations like morphine, codeine, etc. And even in those situations, they can be dangerous because a person can become addicted to them. Other drugs are illegal no matter how they are used, which is like heroin, crack, etc. They will never be illegal. People who are caught with these drugs or selling them can be arrested and may go to jail. And for a very long period of time, especially when it's called intent to deliver, or you're talking years in prison. Now, drug use creates problems at schools. Teens who use drugs often hurt their chances of reaching their long-term goals. A drug-free zone is a 1,000-yard distance around a school where anyone caught with drugs can be arrested. So anyone caught with drugs within 1,000 yards of school, which is basically like 3 or 4 city blocks, you can be arrested. You can go to jail. It could be a major problem. Anyone of any age caught with illegal drugs within the drug-free zone will be arrested and go to jail, no matter what. If you're that close to a school, you are going to jail if you're caught with them. Students caught with or under the influence of drugs will be suspended and possibly expelled from school. And you can be expelled and sent away to other schools. Drug use and the law. The legal consequences of drug use are one of the many negative effects of this harmful behavior. When someone is caught using illegal drugs, the legal consequences are very serious. You're talking about prison time, and like I said before, we're talking about years here, multiple years. Teens can be arrested for possession of drugs. Drug possession is when a person has or keeps illegal drugs. So you don't have to have used the drugs, it just has to be on your person or within your vehicle. Teens can be arrested or spend time in a detention center, and they, as well as their parents, may be fined, and the teen will have a criminal record, and it never goes away. So anytime you go for a job in the future, you have to tell them, have you ever been arrested? Well, yes. Why? Because of drugs. And now you become somebody who they do not see as reliable, and you're much less likely to get the job. Some teens get probation or a set period of time during which a person who has been arrested must check in regularly with a court officer. A person who fails to check in with the court officer during probation may face even stronger punishment. You're going back to jail, you lose your probation, and that probation time turns into jail time. Now, drug use and crime. There's a connection between drug use and crime. As people build a tolerance, they need more and more of the drug. So people may steal drugs or the money to get drugs, which often leads to violence and accidents. And actually, at least 50% of all crime is done by people under the influence of drugs. And then it would become even higher if those acts are by somebody who is either selling them or attempting to buy them or something along that line. It becomes higher than 50%. Now, that's the end of Chapter 10, Section 3. You got any questions, get a hold of me. Make sure you're getting your work done. Have a great day.